Still westbound. There he is. Got him. Is it the truck? It's got to be the truck. It's a white pickup truck. Yep, that's it. That guy looks like he's in pursuit. Interesting choice of clothing. Yeah, he's telling us no. No. Yeah, I wish I'd be fluent in that. No. Dude, pay attention to the road, buddy. The only thing I can say about the signs that I'm seeing right there are those are some sort of gang signs, and again, not 100%. Maybe he is listening to us, because it really does seem like he's corresponding to whatever we're saying. This is a very powerful truck, four-wheel drive, diesel, and you can clearly see it's got some girth to it. That's probably a 2500. And again, moving along there, making his own lanes. As far as the drivers around him, like you said before, clearly a lot of these folks have no idea what's going on. The Fontana PD, we do see the lights. Wish we could hear if they have sirens. And if they do have sirens, at least some of these folks might know, hey, there's something going on. We need to get over to let the law enforcement through. When I say LAPD not around or CHP not around, I got to be clear. They know about this. They are not requested, meaning they have to be. Fontana has to say, hey, you guys, we're in your area. Come take this over. And they're clearly not saying that. This is not the first time he's gotten off the freeway, by the way. He did that in the Covina area. I thought it was going to be on surface streets. He got off the freeway, he got right back on, but definitely getting off the freeway now in the downtown area.
Okay, and it looks like we are on, let's see, this cross street here. Where is he going to turn? He's turning on...
Oh, it's Alameda.
Alameda, okay.
Alameda.
We have about 3 or 4 police cruisers right behind him. It's interesting to me that he's stopping and obeying some of the traffic rules and thankfully waited for that pedestrian to cross the street. Now doing a U-turn.
Definitely.
Okay. All good. Gotcha now.
Fidgety from the get-go. Perhaps he's listening to some music and just getting into the vibe of the music as he's driving along there. He's making a turn now.
I'm not sure if this vehicle is, dual cab. It is a dual cab, which, like you said, more weight is in the front. And just looking at it from what I can see, CHP apparently has taken over the pursuit from Fontana PD. Whether they'll remain the lead agency in this pursuit remains to be seen.
That is a really worrisome thing here, Bruce, when you see the way this guy is driving, because if somebody were to hit him or he were to hit someone, it's a heavy vehicle.
We still don't know if he has a weapon, right?
We don't know that. And you see that little swerve over there? I don't know if this driver was trying to turn left before he decided to go right.
This suspect is just kind of continuing to do what he wants, making a U-turn there.
While on these surface streets, for the most part, although Lou passed at least one red light and a few traffic violations, I have to say that at least he's not speeding through these intersections, and it is comforting because you have innocent people there on the road.
Definitely. That's the one positive that's been going on this since we started this this adventure is he has been moving relatively slowly the entire time.
Maybe just been too much of a drain on Fontana PD's resources.
Well, now we see some officers there on the sideline. It looked like, yeah, they threw the spike strip down.
If he stays on Atlantic long enough, somebody could get ahead of him and possibly be able to just deploy those spike strips. Look at this, look at this, look at this.
Oh, there's people.
Oh, look at that. They were basically saying, hey, let me help you out, let me get you out of the way.
It is unusual to see CHP maintain a pursuit on surface streets in a urban area, so to speak.
Now we're going to make our way across that 6th Street bridge. You know, the bridge is iconic for sure. The pursuit, this one maybe not as iconic as we like. But like you said, you know, depending upon what the crime is, if this guy gets away this time and the truck gets recovered, nobody gets injured, I would still consider that a win for law enforcement. But I know a couple of law enforcement guys, and some of them, if they're not putting the bracelets on the suspect, it isn't a win. And so, you know, but again, they got to weigh it out. You know, this is a carjacking. Nobody was injured.
And no mention of weapons, right?
We haven't heard of it. Yeah, right. So just getting the vehicle back, that'd be a plus. That would be, and also keeping the public safe.
It's really hard to tell, you know, what's going on here.
And on the wrong side of the road again. I don't know why he is doing that.
You can see he's desperate, though.
Right turn on his Central Avenue.
Definitely in downtown, and it's going to start getting a little bit more crowded as we're making our way back over towards the 101. Edge of the Arts District, downtown Los Angeles, and this is gonna, yeah. Now we're gonna be making our way into even a more crowded area.
CHP is still behind him on the ground, so even if the Ontario Police helicopter loses sight of this driver momentarily, CHP, you see how close they are to this driver. They're not going to lose him.
This began in Fontana, so I'm not sure that he's, you know, with sometimes. Bruce, we see these suspects go into a neighborhood where they're familiar, and they will talk with people they might know, but I don't think that's the case in this since it started in Fontana. But he continues to flash the hand signals there. Still unknown what that is, but there for a moment it did look like sign language, but it also could be gang signs. So is there any way that officers will know this? What he's doing?
Yeah, Philip, that's a great question. I mean, is he throwing gang signs? Is he trying to communicate with somebody who may be watching this on TV or streaming it? Or is he, you know, looking as a hearing impaired individual looking for help? And if that's the case, that can create a whole other issue for law enforcement.
That does make sense. I hadn't even thought about that he's, you know, maybe trying to communicate with someone through this, but that's interesting. Look at the cars going around him. You know, just regular commuters with all that police activity, he stops and they just drive around, which, Bruce, here's your moment. You can tell people what they should be doing when they see that many police officers in a possible pursuit. It's not, you don't drive around it, I'm assuming.
No, we just did a story on this last week, and if you're involved in something like that, pull to the right of the road. Stop your vehicle. Let the problem or the pursuit or the emergency vehicles go around you. Don't become part of the problem. And maybe they are trying to get out of the danger zone, so to speak, or maybe they're just oblivious to what's going on.
Very, very possible, but it's hard to imagine that you're oblivious when you see that many police officers. So you do see a bit of items in the back of that truck that are sliding around.
It's the swerving that gets me. There you go. Here we go again. Got an intense briefing from Dylan, quick and appropriate, like it should be. He basically said that the Ontario ship that's has been over it with us this entire time, basically has another 20 minutes of fuel left, and he's going to stay here with it for those 20 minutes of fuel, and then hand it off to LAPD.
Straddling lanes, weaving in and out of traffic. We've seen that. I mean, the behavior this driver has is just outrageous here.
They might note every one of them, but as far as, you know, it getting prosecuted by everyone, I doubt it. I think it's just going to be straight out, you know, probably the carjacking. That's probably going to be the big one, and then everything else is going to be failure to yield. and or obstructing justice, or whatever one that holds more weight.
And these are narrow streets, Julia.
These are very, very narrow streets. There are a lot of small business here. You've got apartment buildings, you've got foot traffic, you've got heavy vehicle traffic too. You see somebody walking over there.
That's definitely him basically saying, nah, you can't get me. But ultimately, he's got to know that he's going to get got.
So just enjoying the freedom, you could say. But also, these are times where, for me, I think about when someone has nothing to lose, that makes them more dangerous.
Yep. Definitely makes them more dangerous. And just having that mindset makes it very dangerous. And these are the things that law enforcement deals with all of the time.
Could be diesel, could be four-wheel drive. We're not certain about that. Clearly have had no reason to use four-wheel drive. But I keep looking back at those wheels, and the wheels are going to be very difficult for the spike strip to hit, even if they were able to get a direct hit on it, because sometimes you can get one of those tires flat with just a glancing blow to the spike strip, right, Bruce? I mean, it doesn't always take a direct hit to be effective, but in this circumstance, I feel like you'd have to have a direct hit on this vehicle if you were to stop it with a spike strip.
Yeah, ideally with a spike strip, you want it deployed where it does affect a couple of tires of the vehicle.
It is very difficult for helicopters to keep track of pursuits in downtown LA, especially driving the way this car was. And I think he might be making moves to get off the 10 now, exiting Santa Fe Avenue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 10 freeway, we know that there's going to be a lot of traffic here. Do we know which direction of the 10 freeway he's on?
Yeah, this was the eastbound 10 freeway exiting now on Santa Fe Avenue, and if that sounds familiar, it's because this driver was making wild turns on and off of Santa Fe Avenue earlier in the Arts District. Looks like he's getting on the northbound side of Santa Fe Avenue. Maybe he got onto the wrong freeway. Maybe he was looking for a different one. I thought he was going to get on the 5 freeway earlier in Commerce, but he took Telegraph Road instead, getting off the off-ramp now. Northbound Alameda. What is going on here?
Yeah. Okay, so if you are just tuning in, it is 1:45. We've been on the air for about 45 minutes now, and the chase was going on even before that. We heard a few minutes ago, we heard sound from the person whose pickup truck this is, who it belongs to. Says he went out, stopped at China Cook, the restaurant there in Fontana, to get something to eat. This guy comes over to him, talks to him, and, grabs the keys from behind him. There was a struggle. The guy managed to get in the car, put it on drive. The owner of the vehicle says that he was still hanging onto it as he was being dragged. We saw some of those scratches that owner has, and it's just unfortunate.
I saw LAPD for a brief moment when he was in the downtown area, but it didn't look like they were requested to engage in the pursuit. And there's some cars that just get jammed up as they're trying to make their way through the intersection. Yeah, it's still on the wrong side of the street. Well, now on the right side of the street there.
Wondering why he can't do that pit maneuver. But right now, like you've been saying, this has all been, let's see where this goes. Look at the kids down there going by a school.
Right.
Everybody's running to see what the pursuit
commotion is. Stu, how much fuel do you have up in Skyfox?
Oh, don't tell me that, Dylan. We have roughly, I'm going to say maybe, oh, here we go. Here we go. See, they listen to us. They listen to it. They totally listen to it. Yep, they listen to us. They listen to us. They are totally listening to us. Look at that. Look at that. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, that was like a ballet. That was so smooth. No. Oh, no. And not under a tree. Don't do it under a tree.
Oh,
okay.
They saw an opportunity to try and bring this to a stop. Remind this driver that they mean business, and then he needs to bring this truck to a halt and surrender to authorities. So they are not willing to give up on this pursuit.
If everybody had just stayed still, we could have found ourselves in a standoff. So now, going through the intersection, turning left against traffic, going away from some of the traffic. We've now been on this for just about that long, watching mostly the same behavior from not only law enforcement but the suspect. That was interesting there. That pickup truck cutting off one of the officers to make their turn, now speeding away, and you've got the pursuit vehicle slowing down, and officers getting up right behind him here. So we've got a new CHP officer there. This one joined from a different way. Now, what would we take from that, Bruce, when you see an officer like make a U-turn and then immediately engage like this, taking over from those SUVs?
CHP, what they do is they do a handoff.
You start to wonder if this person even recognizes that he's driving essentially in the same areas over and over again, or just kind of aimlessly driving around, sees an on-ramp, and just gets right back on the freeway. So, but really, we haven't seen him, go to any, specific spot and stop or anything like that. He just randomly will stop in the middle of an intersection and try and communicate in one way or another with people that are in the crosswalks, or point at people that are driving on the street along next to him. We saw a lot of those narrow streets, some of them one-way streets. He would drive on the opposite side at times, drive down the center divider. But look right there, not too many cars as we transition now. Veered over last second. So now he's going he went from the 10 to the 60 and now onto the 5 as we make our way from the East LA interchange southbound now on the 5 freeway. And so trying to look up ahead, there's certainly more cars here on the 5 freeway. He's not going to want to get on the northbound side, that's for sure. That is gridlocked. The southbound side is pretty busy as well, but the northbound side, very busy. So just a heads up there for anybody looking to drive on the 5 freeway up towards the East LA interchange. It's pretty busy at this point. And there's the damage we were talking about from that pit maneuver, but the tire is still intact. And his window is up for now. And we from time to time see whatever's in the back of that truck kind of slide around. Looks like maybe just like some trash. But one thing we saw back there was a hammer or some sort of sledgehammer that is rolling around back there. He could be exiting here at Imperial. Well, it looks like he's on the off-ramp here for Imperial Highway, so he's going to be getting off in the the Lynwood, Downey area here. So, we'll see if he decides to, stick to surface streets for a while. But, he had the option to stay on the 710 freeway with little to no traffic on the southbound side, but still kind of, opting to keep a slower speed. Now is getting off the freeway. We saw another handoff at the front of the pack here for CHP. You can see it's now an SUV that's in the lead. As Tim mentioned, they will, as we go through different districts, they could hand off to local CHP officers, but then also, give the lead car a break and bring in some fresh eyes and energy to manage the pursuit and possibly get in there for a possible pit maneuver. I'm not entirely sure if all CHP are authorized or qualified to do a pit maneuver.
I'm just making the differentiating between just a stolen vehicle and a carjacking suspect. Here we are in Compton on the streets of this. Started all the way in Fontana. And look at this, right next to a daycare or a school, perhaps some sort of a summer camp. Hard to tell, but nonetheless, kids are going, what's going on?
I wonder if that's going to inspire that young lad to be an officer someday. Anyways, they're just going right by him, and it is almost a spectacle of some point. You know, we can poke a lot of fun at these things, but it is definitely still very, very dangerous. We pointed this out earlier on. This guy could, hammer that gas or not pay attention. Somebody could step out in front of it.
If you are not familiar with the neighborhood, it is very easy to make one turn and then have no way out. There's pluses and minuses to that from the law enforcement perspective. On the one hand, there's a good chance you're going to contain the person you're after. The flip side is it can add to that feeling of desperation.
Okay, I don't know if you noticed that, Eric. One of the officers made a right turn, maybe to catch up with him on the other end.
This street may loop around. I guess we're about to find out.
All right, so yeah, we're trying to figure this out. I mean, officers at this point have to have a game plan, especially if they're familiar with this neighborhood.
Right, and because the underlying issue here is a violent crime, a suspected carjacking, although the victim we heard from didn't say this particular person had a weapon, it is still considered a violent crime. Taking something that belongs to somebody else.
There we go with the spike strips.
Spike strips we're watching. Taking something from somebody by force or fear is a robbery. In this case, if it's a car, it becomes a carjacking. And so they've got to approach this person with tremendous caution. And this guy may be boxed in here.
All right, so
Yeah, there we go with the spike strips. He's got CHP behind him, CHP right up ahead of him. I think they're going to try boxing him in again. They've got more units this time. And you saw this cruiser over here on the right with the officer getting out from the passenger side. You saw that vehicle speeding around to meet up with this truck where they knew this street was going to loop around.
Just like we were talking about, this is a neighborhood that has a lot of one-way and dead-end and cul-de-sacs, and apparently he turned on to one of those. You saw the passenger in the CHP car by the front bumper jump out very quickly. That's to get out of the line of fire. It is a tremendous risk to approach somebody who's suspected in a violent crime from the front, but there's times to take that chance, especially when they're so committed to bringing this to an end, and this seemed like a pretty perfect opportunity.
And the driver is finally out.
This is it.
Oh, and is he trying to run? Oh,
yeah, they got the canine on him, taking him down after he had his hands up. This is it, finally. I think they were waiting for an opportunity to do this when they saw that pursuit driver taking that turn, driving around this neighborhood where that road does loop around. You saw how quickly CHP seized that opportunity.